Meantime, tayo ho ay papasok dito sa ating pinaka-main na pag-uusap. Meron pong mga inilabas na bagong itatalaga na, sa mga departamento. No? Ang ating incoming President Rodrigo Duterte, meron na mga pinipili na ilalagay sa kanyang gabinete. Ang bisita ho natin ngayon, hindi na ho ito bago. Although sabi niya ayaw niya ng politika dahil hindi na tumakbo nung nakaraan eh. Kaya na nabintangan siya tumatakbo yata. Dahil hindi na siya tatakbo pero namumulitika daw kasi siya dahil may mga ipinapatong sa kanyang siya ang pinagbibintangan. Pero ang maganda ho ngayon, merong ibibigay sa kanyang isang departamento na marami din daw, di umanong korupsyon. At ang isa nga sa una niya raw gustong gawin, gusto kong liwanagin din ito mamaya, ay magpa-lifestyle check. Let's welcome to the program, appointed Department of Agriculture Secretary, former North Cotabato Governor Emmanuel Manny Peñol. Gob! Morning! Basit. Gusto ka na?
Okay
parang
na.
bumata ka bigla. Parang pinaggagawa mo lately.
Well, sabi nga nila, kung gusto mo yung ginagawa mo, hindi trabaho, passion eh.
Yes. But prior dun sa preparation ng elections, what were you busy with?
Actually, tumulong ako kay Rudy in my own way. I did not join the campaign group. No? Hindi ako sumama, nasa labas lang ako. But I helped him formulate the agriculture programs.
Okay.
Kasi as early as mga 2.5 years ago, nung wala pa sa isip na yung
pagtakbo,
presidency na yan,
yes, that's correct.
yung napipikom pa siya kapag binibiro namin. Sinabi ko sa kanya, sabi ko, whether you run or not, sabi ko, would you allow me to ask you very specific questions on important issues, including yung ating passion pareho. Kasi pareho kami mahilig sa agriculture.
Yes.
Yung agriculture, sabi ko. Sabi niya, sige. Sabi niya, okay ba sa'yo? Sabi ko, okay ba sa'yo na isulat ko sa Facebook?
So gumana na naman yung pagka-periodista mo?
Talaga. No? Talaga. And you know, ang following ng Facebook page na yung Manny Peñol, at one point, ang readership ko was 9.2 million.
Oh, wow. Oo, talaga. Alright.
And doon, binuo namin ni Rudy yung yung libro
This
na yan.
This one. So, meaning, matagal nang nagawa ito bago pa yung nag-umpisa yung...
Sa isipan ko matagal nang nagawa, no?
Pero kailan mo ito pinrint?
Nung before the elections lang.
Just before the elections.
Kasi ang nangyari nga...
Pero gawa na yung, ibig sabihin, nakabalangkas na yan.
Nakabalangkas na sa utak ko.
Printing na lang, okay.
Kaya lang, siyempre, alam mo naman tayong mga jarista minsan, nasa mood, diba?
Yes, parang artist din yan eh.
Nung bandang huli, na-realize ko, sabi ko, you know, somebody has got to tell the Filipino people what Duterte would like to do with agriculture. Kasi sa limang tumakbo, kadanya, wala akong narinig na nagkwento kung
saka in-depth na nag-discuss with regard to yung directions about agriculture.
And to think that the Philippines is an agriculture country.
That's correct.
Hindi talaga pwedeng hindi natin banggitin yung ating agrikultura. You know, I have always believed in that old Chinese saying, good mountain, good water, good life. So,
pero nasa isip mo ba dati na in case, kasi biru-biruan lang yung pagiging presidente, pero minsan nabibiro din, pag ikaw naging presidente, ako magiging
Wala na.
Wala na yun.
I've never lobbied for anything actually.
Okay.
In fact, nung araw na in-appoint niya ako, yung unang Monday after the elections, a week after the elections, hindi naman ako dapat nandun sa opisina niya. Kasi umuwi ako ng farm eh. Nung May 9 ng gabi, nung makita ko na lumalamang na siya, nandun ako sa media center. Pinuntahan ko siya. At lumalamang na siya ng mga 4 na milyon eh.
Okay.
Sabi ko, Mr. President, I think you won. Congratulations. I'll go home. Umuwi na ako sa Kidapawan, doon sa farm ko.
Okay.
Wala sana akong balak na makipagkita sa kanya. Siyempre, dahil ayaw ko namang abalain siya. Kaya lang tumawag yung mga kaibigan ko, sila Didi Domingo, sila Rene Concordia. Sabi niya, samahan mo kami. Makikipagkita kami ka-presidente sa Lunes. Sabi ko, sige. So I was not in the guest list. I was not scheduled to see him. Nung makita kami ni Alan Peter Cayetano doon sa receiving area, Sabi niya, halika, sama ka na. Babati lang tayo. So, gano'n, bati-bati. Ay, kamustahan kami. Pare, kamusta? Nung bandang huli, nung matapos sila mag-usap na Boying Rimulya, yung grupong Cavite, tinawag niya si Didi. Didi, halika. Pinatayo sa gilid niya. Sabi niya, pare, halika. Kasi magkumpare kami. Pare, halika. Ito ka. I-announce natin yung appointment ni Didi. No? Oh, ladies and gentlemen, the new PAGCOR chairperson, Didi Domingo. Parang kami, kamayan. And the new Agriculture Secretary, Governor Manny Pinaha.
So, walang prior na usapan kayo doon?
Wala.
Na hindi man lang doon mo na lang parang, doon na lang ginanong ka na lang bigla. And then after that, nag-usap naman kayo?
Basta, alam mo si Rudy kasi ibang style nito eh. He works on trust.
Yes.
He works on trust. Kaya if you would notice...
Pero malalim na din ang pinagsamahan ninyo.
Mga 24 years na kami magkakilala.
And yung direction ninyo with regard to agriculture, dahil
hindi lang even terrorism, even drugs. Because, you know, yung aking kasing province is the frontier province. Ito yung next to Davao del Sur is my province.
Tsaka,
North Cotabato.
Mahabang panahon ka naging governor eh.
At saka, just in case people do not know this, yung Mount Apo actually is not just Davao. One half of that is North Cotabato. So we share a border.
Okay.
Yung peak ng Mount Apo, pinagatian namin yun. Yung kabila, Davao City, Davao del Sur dito, and then North Cotabato. So may
mga sharing of ideas na kayo before pa.
In fact, may mga boundary conflict kami nung araw eh. With Davao City. And we were able to settle that amicably. Kasi sabi ko naman, hindi naman natin yung lupang yan, ba't mag-aawayan yan? No?
So right after nun, in-announce nga na gano'n, naupo na ba kayo in one time na pinag-usapan, etong gusto kong gawin mo sa...
Right there and then. Right there and then. Pagkatapos niya akong sabihan na ikaw na ang Agriculture Secretary.
Okay.
Sabi niya, pare, dalawang bagay lang, sabi niya. Ensure available and affordable food for the Filipino.
Okay.
Number 2, hintuan mo yung corruption sa Department of Agriculture.
Which you already believed before na talagang riddled with corruption ang DA?
Alam mo, as a local government official myself, and I think other local government officials will attest to this. Talagang I am not saying that the top echelon of the DA corrupt, no? Pero sa baba, pagdating sa baba, contractor ang umiikot eh. Sabihin kay Mayor, ito may budget dito, ako nang bahala, pirmahan mo lang to.
Okay.
Kasama na punta sa yung Napoles. That's agriculture fund, no? Yung fertilizer scam, agriculture yun. Palagi na lang ginagamit ang ating mga magsasaka para magkapera ang ating official sa gobyerno. Ako nagdududa ko, Daniel, na the reason why we have not really achieved rice sufficiency is not because we don't have the resources. Lupa at saka tubig na naman yan. Kasi, di ba, ang agriculture, simple naman agriculture eh. Food grows where water flows. Di ba? Tubig at saka lupa lang yan eh. Ganun lang naman kasimple agriculture eh. But you know, the reason why, ako pananaw ko ngayon, the reason why we have not really worked on rice sufficiency is because there's money in importation. Pati yung magbababoy natin, pati magmamanok. Kasi napakasimple naman eh. Why do we have to import chicken? Sasabihin ng ating mga opisyales, sa Disyembre, kukulangin tayo ng manok. So mag-i-import tayo to justify importation. But look, how long will it take to grow broiler? It's only 27 days, 30 days. Ba't hindi mo na sabihin sa mga poultry raisers, halika kayo mga kaibigan, may shortage tayo sa December. Etong pera, magkalaga kayo mas marami.
Pero ang nagiging problema ngayon dyan, yung usapin ng mas mahal yung like halimbawa, sabihin natin bawang, sibuyas, mas mura kung in-import mo yung bawang kesa doon sa locally produced na bawang. Parang mas mahal yung bawang natin eh. Although, ibang bawang natin.
Marami kasi mga faktor, Daniel, kung bakit
mas
mahal ang ating production rather. Unang-una, saan kumukuha ng kapital yung ating mga magsasaka? 5-6.
Yes, that's true.
Siyempre, hahabulin mo yun.
Yes, that's
true. So, kailangan may fundamental na pagbabago doon sa ating tinatawag nating intervention ng gobyerno upang maging produktibo yung ating mga magsasaka.
Sources pa nung
That's the reason why tatlong aspeto ang ating pinagtutuunan ng pansin ngayon. Unang-una, technology. I was in Mindoro, in the town of Magsaysay, where they grow onions. No? At pupunta ako sa June 10 sa Nueva Ecija, kakausapin ko yung magsisibuyas. Alam mo yung technology nila, backward. Backward. They could not even come up with uniform uniformly shaped onions. No? Ibig sabihin, talagang backward yung technology. So, kapag backward ang technology mo, mahina ang productivity mo. Number 2, walang magsasakang nakatsinelas ang pwedeng mangutang sa bangko. Wala. Maski
Hirap.
Ay, of course. Maski magtatanim ka ng sibuyas, bawang, mag-aalaga ka ng manok o baboy, hindi ka naman pwede pumunta sa land bank na sabihin mong, ma'am, mangungutang nga po ako ng 50 mil.
Capacity to pay kagad ang titignan
siyempre. Tatanunggaan ang collateral mo. That's the reason why, yung financing aspect, sabi ni Presidente Duterte, when I become president, I will allocate 1 billion pesos for every region in the country na maa-access ng mga magsasaka na wala ng collateral. And we're coming up with a system to do this. When I was governor of North Cotabato, ginawa ko ito, microfinancing. Okay? Walang interest, certification lang ng barangay kapitan that this guy is a farmer of good standing.
Okay.
At
so wala na collateral. Hindi na pahirapan ng mga documentation.
Saan kukuha ng collateral ang ordinaryong magsasaka? Alam mo, maraming hindi nakakaintindi kung bakit ayaw iwalay nung isang magsasaka ang titulo ng kanyang lupa. Yung lolo ko namatay, 1 hektarya ang lupa. Pero yung titulo ng lupa niya nakabalot sa plastic at nakatago doon sa kawayan na gano'n. At nakalagay sa baol. Ganyan kahalaga ang titulo ng lupa sa isang magsasaka. And he will never part that with a 50,000 peso loan. Hindi pwede mangyari. These are the things that our government should understand.
But isa sa mga sinasabi mo, yung connection ng tubig at saka ng lupa, ang NIA ay hindi na hiniwalay na, 'di ba? Dahil kaya nga yung nagkaroon tayo ng food czar itong si Kiko Pangilinan during itong term ng administration. So is it really true na ipupursu mo na ibalik doon sa Department of Agriculture itong lahat ng attached agencies na ito kasama na ang National Irrigation para i-under ulit sa Department of Agriculture?
The President-elect Rudy Duterte and I have already talked about this during our first meeting ng mga cabinet secretary designates. But I will leave it all up to the President to make the announcement. I don't want to preempt the President. But ako'y naniniwala na hindi lang dapat yung mga ahensya na yun ang bubuin. Dapat lahat ng ahensya ng gobyerno na may kinalaman sa climate, resources, science, technology, dapat bubuin yan sa isang pinupropose ko na agency na dapat tawaging National Food Security Coordinating Council. Anong ibig ko sabihin ito? Tingnan nyo ang nangyari sa atin sa El Nino. 2 taon na nagwa-warning ang Pag-asa na may El Nino. Hindi binigyan ng pansin. Anong nangyari sa atin? Bugbog tayo. You know, the performance of the agri sector in the first quarter of 2016 is negative 4.4%. Negative. Hindi lang hindi umangat, bumagsak pa. And last year, 2015, it was 1.6%. Alam mo, sasabihin nila kasi nag-El Nino. Yes, but hindi ba sa planning process kada niyan? Lahat ng risks, threats, kasama dyan yung SWOT na sinasabi nila. Strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. No? So when you plan, hindi ka pwedeng magplano, sabihin mong, hindi kasi namin alam na may El Nino Hindi kasi namin alam na may bagyo Di ba? Lahat yan naka-factor in. Like say for example, I'm not saying that I'm better than them, no? But in my experience as a local government executive, nasa na yan sa mga tinatawag nating mga crisis, no? Noong sinabi sa akin ng presidente na tingnan mo yung yung La Nina kung anong epekto. Noong unang meeting ko agad sa DA, nung 2 weeks ago, pinatawag ko kagad yung inimbita ko kagad yung Pag-asa, yung representante ng Pag-asa. At tinanong ko, sabi ko, ano ang magiging extent ng epekto ng La Nina to Philippine agriculture? Anong areas ang tatamaan? Sabi niya, sir, hindi naman gaano katindi. Ang tatamaan Eastern Seaboard. Okay? Ang ibig sabihin Eastern Seaboard, Samar, Bicol, itong side na ito. So right now, I'm planning what to do to Philippine agriculture and productivity in the context of saan ba tatama yung La Nina. So right now I'm looking at Mindoro, Palawan, etong side na to. We really have to be very prepared with this.
So you're saying na the reason why yung rice sufficiency ay hindi na-achieve dahil hindi na-address yung mga dapat na mai-address. Meaning, ipapangako mo din ba na yung hindi na-achieve ng former administration na rice sufficiency ay kayang magawa sa term mo? Before you answer that, we'll pause for a break. Babalik po kami. Ito ang programang Bawal ang Pikon. Get it straight with Daniel Lozon. Kasama po natin former Governor Emmanuel Manny Piñol, incoming Department of Agriculture Secretary ng Duterte administration. Well, sa Aquino administration, naipangako yung rice sufficiency pero hindi na-achieve for so many reasons. And ang isa sa mga bagay na sinasabi nga dito ay yung pagpasok noong problema sa El Nino, pagpasok niyang bagyo, 'di ba? Pagpasok nitong mga typhoon na dumating, yung kalamidad sa atin, ipapangako mo rin ba ito yung rice sufficiency? Having said na nakita nyo na i-identify ninyo yung mga naging problema, bakit hindi ito nagawa?
I will not commit the same mistake, no?
Okay.
Of coming up with a bold projection.
Yes, yes.
Na kaya nating
makuha,
maging rice sufficient over the next 6 years. But what I can promise is that we will increase rice productivity. Kailangan na po natin talagang tingnan yung may tatlong bagay akong dapat na talagang tingnan. You know, I was in Misamis Occidental. Gumawa kasi ako ng biyaheng bukid. Umiikot sa buong Pilipinas ngayon. Kalahati na ng Pilipinas, inikot ko na.
Okay.
At sa June 10, aakit na ako ng Luzon. I go to the area, I see for myself the situation of the people in the countryside. At doon sa Misamis Occidental nga, pagpunta ko, I was told na merong katatapos lang na irrigation project worth 300 million. Ang distinction, walang tubig. Okay? Now, but if you look at the statistics, ililista yon, irrigation project. No?
300,
okay? I'll tell you of another story. Kabulnan Irrigation Project, province of Maguindanao. On paper, it is supposed to serve 15,000 hectares. Actual area served, 3,000. Ano ang discrepancy doon? That's 12,000 hectares. So what am I saying now? What I'm saying now is, napakarami nating mga irrigation projects right now na hindi na gumagana. But has there been a serious effort to really rehabilitate, desilt, repair the canals and everything? Wala pa. So, the first thing that we will do, and I'm already asking my friends, no, who are in local government right now, sabi ko, umpisa na natin, hindi pa ako nakaupo, but please submit to me, one, existing irrigation facilities in your area. Okay? Total area served, total, yung projected, no? At saka total area served. So that I would know kung anong gagawin natin. Number two, give me the inventory of your rain-fed areas. Alam mo, Daniel, pumunta ako ng Mindoro, napakalawak na isla, napakalapad, napakayaman. Once a year, maraming areas, once a year lang nag-harvest. Why? Walang tubig. Walang irigasyon. So sabi ko sa kanila, bigyan nyo ako ng inventory ng inyong rain-fed areas. Because simple lang po ang computation ko. If I can provide water to these areas, yung production nila times 2. Okay? Also, give me a listing or an inventory of potential rice areas. Because kung matutukan natin ito, tingin ko, ma-achieve natin, but I will not make a promise. No?
Pero ang isang bagay kasi ngayon dito, Governor, ang nangyayari dito, marami na sa mga kababayan natin, sira na ang loob pumasok sa farming eh. Kung napapansin niyo, parang pag sinabi, sa US, pag sinabing farmer yan, big time, di ba? Sa atin, pag sinabi farmer yan,
tuloy ko lang yung isa pang factor kung bakit mahina yung ating productivity. Binhing-binhi na lang. Hindi available.
Okay.
Bibigyan mo ng, alam mo yung, ang problema kasi sa atin, masyadong politicized yung ating agriculture. Ultimong binhi na para sa magsasaka, ibibidding mo na yan. Magtatanim na yung farmer, wala pa yung binhi kasi binibidding pa. Kung magkaroon na pa ng problema sa bidding, magre-rebidding pa ulit. Publication and everything. Bago dumating yung binhi, nakapagtanim na yung farmer. Yung binhi na yan, na pagkamahal-mahal, ibibenta sa ordinary palay. Okay? Abono. Kailangan na ng farmer kasi sa agriculture, yung window of fertilization, may schedule yan eh. Etong stage na ito ng tanim mo, ito dapat mag-abono ka na, ito mag-side dressing ka na, ganun dapat yan eh. But the moment we go through the bidding process sa gobyerno, darating yung abono, tapos na. Oh. Inaatake ng black bag yung palay ng farmer. Pupunta kay mayor, wala pa tayong magbibidding muna tayo. Abay, walang hiya pagdating nung pang-spray sa black bag, wala na, kinain na ng black bag yun. Now, these are the things, simple things, na dapat natin pagtuunan ng pansin. And I have proposed to the President the establishment of what I call the Farmers Exchange Center. Yung kanilang tindahan na mismo, na initially kami magsusupply sa kanila, and then paiikutin nila. Say, for example, in a key production area, anong kailangan na magsasaka? Ilang binhi ang kailangan nyo? Iimbak na yan sa isang imbakan na talagang ideal yung temperatura para hindi masira yung binhi. Anong type of soil meron sila? Para yung abono ilalagay doon should be designed to the type of soil in that locality. Kasi hindi naman po ibig sabihin dahil parehong rice field, parehong ng requirements sa fertilization. Hindi naman eh. So magkakaroon nga tayo ng sinasabi ni Presidente na color-coded agriculture map na magsasagawa tayo ng pagsusuri sa buong bansa kung anong klaseng lupa meron dito, anong klaseng panahon meron sila, ano ang kanilang rainfall pattern, at ano pang ibang mga climatic conditions which will determine the productivity of that area. At itong color-coded map na ito yung pangarap ng ating Presidente. Dapat nakalatag ito para maski yung agriculture investor hindi na magtatanong anong pwede kong itanim doon, anong pwede. He'll just have to go to that book, that guidebook. Ilocos, dito maganda ang garlic, maganda ang onion. O Mindanao, ito pinya ako rin, pwede pala. Based on the soil analysis. So, ito po, gagawin natin available sa ating mga farmers. So, going back to that Farmers Exchange Center, ito yung tindahan na mismong magsasaka magpapatakbo, parang cooperative nila, na initially tutulungan ng gobyerno. You know, I talked to Secretary Sonny Dominguez about 3 days ago. Sabi ko sa kanya, Mr. Secretary, kasi siya yung bali senior namin eh. Mr. Secretary, sabi ko, we have a big problem with agriculture. Hindi umangat, lugmok. Negative 4.4% for the first quarter. Now, basically yes, because of the El Nino. No? Now, what do we do? Sir, sabi ko, kailangan ko ng mga 30 billion pesos to really prop up agriculture right away. Kasi ito po yung unang mararamdaman ng tao sa governance. May nakain ka ba? May mga kain ka ba? Kumita ka ba? These are the areas where we have to make immediate intervention. Kasi yung sabihin natin, magtanim ka ng tubo, 1 year pa bago mo ma-harvest yun eh. Pero yung palay, after 4 months, nag-harvest ka na.
Pero ang isa sa nagiging problema natin, kagaya niyan, yung pagbaha ng mga imported products, hindi ba? Yung importation, kagaya nga, may limit pa tayo. Pero during this administration, mabubuksan na yung gate dyan na babahain na tayo. Wala nang yung qualitative, di ba? Ma-open na sa atin yan. Paano ngayon ang mangyayari doon?
Balik po tayo doon sa sinasabi ko kanina. 3 bagay. 1, technology. Number 2, financing. Number 3, marketing. Okay? Technology. Kung backward ang technology mo, talagang mataas ang cost of production. Number 2, financing. Kung nangungutang ka sa 5-6, talagang mataas ang cost of production mo. Number 3, kung hindi ka tutulungan ng gobyerno para ma-market yung produkto mo, talagang mahihirapan ka. Look, eto actual experience lang. Umikot lang ako, yung biyaheng bukid ko. From North Cotabato, makita ko ng Maguindanao, Lanao del Sur, Zamboanga, hanggang Bicol, dumaan ako ng Leyte. Problema ng mga magsasaka doon, sir, sabi niya, wala man na kaming tulong sa Abaca. Matagal na kaming humihingi ng tulong sa gobyerno. Kailangan namin pananim lang, plantlets, tissue cultured, kailangan namin ng abono, and everything. Sabi ko, sige, hindi pa ako nakaupo, but I'll talk to the buyer. Sino pong buyer niya? Si Bert Phoenix. Nakilala ko si Bert Phoenix. So nakita kami, kinausap ko siya. Sabi ko, Bert, totoo bang nangangailangan ka ng Abaca? Sabi niya, oo. Anong volume? 120,000 metric tons. What? Sabi, converted to hectares, how wide would that be? Sabi niya, mga 90,000 hectares. Sabi ko, will you promise me that you will buy the product of the farmers? Kapag pinagtanim ko sila? Sabi niya, oo. O sabi ko, etong Daniel, June 15. Hindi pa ako nakaupo. 15 days before the President will assume office, we will already go back to Sogod Leyte. Magpipirmahan na. Marketing agreement. Ang ibig ko sabihin, kapag yung isang commodity natin ay merong ready merkado, makakakumpit tayo. But if we just leave the farmers to themselves, O talagang walang mangyari. Na 20 of June, pupunta ako ng Amerika. Why? Because right after my appointment, tinawagan ko yung mga kaibigan ko sa Amerika. Sabi ko, pwede bang i-meet ko yung mga may-ari ng mga tindahan ng Pilipino? Kasi sa Amerika, mayroong mga Filipino stores eh. Nagbebenta ng mga Asian products.
Yes.
Bagoong, bagoong, tuyo, lahat. But most of these come from Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand, and Myanmar. Okay? So kakausapin ko sila. Bakit kayo bibili doon? Kaya ng Pilipino yan. Sabihin nyo sa akin kung anong produktong kailangan nyo. As Secretary of Agriculture, I will assist our farmers to produce and fisher folk. No?
But that will bring you to smuggling.
No.
Kasi ang problema ngayon dito sa atin, kaya mas mura lalo, di ba? Dahil binabaha tayo ng mga smuggled goods eh. Sila, yun ang, pagka syempre patas yung laban mo. So, meron ka na namang isang department ulit na kailangan mong pukpukin dyan.
No, actually, ang kagandahan nito, no, the President wisely appointed a very upright individual to head the Bureau of Customs. Si Nick Faldon. No?
Okay.
I know the guy because I already took him in. Even before the President appointed him, kinuha ko na si Nick Faldon, sabi ko, sa akin ka. Because I actually have this idea of creating a new unit within the Department of Agriculture which would conduct the campaign against corruption in the DA as a government agency, and at the same time check whether the projects being given by DA to the end users are really improving their lives. Ito yung nawala sa atin na Daniel. Bubuhos ng proyekto yung gobyerno. Pagkatapos wala na. It's like a hollow tube na hinulog mo yung pagkain, hindi mo alam kung nakain ng aso, hindi. No? So, ang sabi ko kay Nick Faldon, sabi ko, look, I would like you to create an impact assessment group which would determine whether the irrigation project that we gave there really improve the lives of the people. May double checking tayo. He was already with me. We were in Mindoro nung tinawagan siya ng Davao at pinapareport sa Davao. Nung malaman ko, sabi ko, patay. Sabi ko, I think I'll lose you. Sabi ko, I think I'll lose you. I know. Sabi ko,
okay.
I know.
But you will be working hand in hand with him.
That's precisely the point.
Okay.
I will be working hand in hand with Nick Faldon, who knows my thoughts, and I know his thoughts. No? At magkakaroon kami ng collaboration in as far as smuggling. You look, how serious am I with the dive against smuggling? I was in Zamboanga City 4 days ago. Okay, 4 days ago. And nagpa-briefing ako sa Westmincom. Sabi ko, please brief me on the extent of smuggling in Zamboanga. Walang hiya, kaya naman pala grabe yung smuggling sa Zamboanga. Almost 100 na private na mga pantalan ang meron doon. Siyempre, paano mo monitor yun? Lulusot.
Yes,
diba?
yes.
Okay? So, sabi ko, how do we go about this? Paano natin i-resolve ng smuggling na ito? Well, sabi ng mga tao, sabi niya, we really have to be very vigilant.
So, ano balak niyo? Sasaran niyo yung mga private?
No. We'll just have to be vigilant, no? Kasi
pero syempre, hindi niyo basta mapapasok yun.
No, but if you have a Bureau of Customs headed by somebody who understands the commitment of the President, no? Kasi ang commitment ng ating Presidente na papasok ay no rice smuggling, no smuggling of pork, no smuggling of chicken, no smuggling of sibuyas, no smuggling of garlic. Ibig sabihin, the Duterte presidency assures the Filipino farmers and fisher folk that anything they need to increase their productivity and produce their products at a competitive price, we will do. Okay? We don't even have to talk about subsidy. We only have to talk about technology transfer, financing, and marketing.
And that will also lead you to the lifestyle check na sinasabi mo.
Of course.
Doon sa mga, paano mo iniisip gawin yun? Tutuloy mo ba talaga yan? Are you serious?
Of course. Yes. Because napaka-simple naman ng instruction ng ating Presidente. Stop corruption. Stop corruption.
But how do you intend to execute yung, kasi madaling sabihin yun alam? Diba parang easier said than done. Alam mo naman siguro that you've been in politics for quite a long time. Talagang yung mga matitigas ang ulo,
alam mo totoo, malaking problema ka, Daniel. Nasa mindset kasi natin Nasa psyche na ng Pilipino na kapag gobyerno pera. Alam mo ito, nakakatawa. Hindi pa umiikot yung balita na ako yung hinirang ng ating Presidente na Agriculture Secretary. May mga kilala kong tatawag na, Gob, mabuti na andyan ka. Pwede tayo mag-import ng sibuyas sa kabawang. Walang hiya kayo.
So, humingi na ng importation permit, ha?
Okay. hindi ko malaman kung maiinis o matatawa. But, you know, this is how serious corruption is in our society today. It has already penetrated the very fabric of our identity as a
But how can you curve that? Kagaya nga, ikaw na mismo nagsabi, may tumatawag kagad. But it's not an easy thing to curve. Alam mo naman natin na kung gano'n na yung laging mayroong impression na importation permit na nga lang eh. Diba? Yung isang guest ko dito, the following week natanggal dahil kung ano-ano limitaw doon sa importation permit nung interview ko eh.
Actually, Daniel, ayaw kong ibuhatin sa sarili kong bangko. Natapos ko yung pagiging governor ko 9 years, wala akong kasong korupsyon. And I do not intend to stain the name bequeathed to me by my father sa 6 na taon. I look at the task given to me by the President as a gesture of trust and confidence. And he has been a friend for 24 years. I am not going to destroy his trust and confidence.
Pero ngayon, kinakasuhan ka ngayon, ikaw daw ang instigador doon sa Kinabawan.
Hindi totoo yun.
Bakit ba nasaklit ka doon?
Ganito yun eh.
Ikaw ang may...
Natatawa nga ako dun eh. Unang-una nililink nila ako sa mga leftist. Nakakotsaba ko doon yung mga kaliwete. Hindi na alam, nakalaban ako ng NPA. For so long, I was the only one of the few politicians in the country na hindi nagbabagay ng permit to campaign fee sa NPA. Alam nila yan.
Okay.
I sued the leaders of Bayan Muna for accusing me of throwing a grenade sa headquarters nila, which is not true. Ganito nangyari doon. Actually, March 31 yun eh. March 31, magkikita kami ni Rudy sa Davao. Si Jun Ivasco muna sa umaga, si Rudy sa gabi. So umalis ako ng maaga from Kidapawan City. Doon ako dadaan sa yung barikada.
Okay.
So because hindi ako makadaan, doon ako sa ilalim ng mga puno ng mga rubber trees, dumaan sa mga gilid-gilid. Nabuisit ako, sabi ko nung gabi, nung magkita kami ni Rudy, sabi ko, gawa mo nga ng paraan yung mga rallyista. Kasi before that, meron din ganung nangyari sa Davao eh. They were able to resolve it. The protesters went home without anything untoward happening, no? So sabi ko tulungan mo ako. Kakabuisit na, apitado na pati fuel. Apitado na kasi hindi makadaan yung mga tankers eh. Sabi niya, anong gagawin natin? Sabi ko, humihingi ng bigas eh. Tinawagan ka agad yung abogado. Sabi niya, ano bang pwede natin gawin na hindi tayo makasuhan dahil campaign period eh. So yun nga, magde-declare ng state of calamity, mag-allocate yung Davao City ng ganon, ng pondo, and then mag-share sa North Cotabato. So that was our agreement. No?
Okay.
So natapos kami mga hating gabi ng March 31, umuwi ako ng Kidapawan. Right there and then, dumating ako sa bahay, mga alas 3, sa farm ko, madaling araw. 7:30, nasa rally area na ako. Kinausap ko yung mga leader, sabi ko, sabi ko, may magandang balita ako sa inyo, tutulong si Rudy, baka makapagbigay siya ng bigas at baka dumaan dito kasi pupunta siyang Bukidnon eh. Sabi ko kasi sa kanya, daanan mo nga, baka pwedeng landing ka lang, chopper doon, ma-inspire lang yung mga tao. You know, Duterte has this inexplicable charisma with people. He really disarms people eh. Yung kanyang simpleng pag-ganon-ganon eh, nadi-disarm yung tao eh. Totoo, ano? Pati yata chicks, nadi-disarm.
Ikaw makakapagsabi niyan.
Hindi, iba yung personality niya, yung ganon-ganon siya. Ibang dating sa tao eh. Kaya sabi ko pa rin, daanan mo nga para ma-appease lang yung mga tao. Yun lang ang involvement ko.
Hindi, pero ikaw daw naghakot ng mga rallyista.
No, that's not true. The rallies were already there before I arrived. Friday na yun dumating ako eh, Friday. Nung kinausap ko yung mga rallyista, admittedly, I committed the mistake of granting an interview.
Okay.
At sinabi ko, dating si Rudy Duterte, baka may matulong. Nagpanik yung kabilang grupo. Alam mo na sinong kabilang grupo? Tanong mo kay Erin ko kanino si Nagpanik. And they ordered the dispersal. Alam ko bakit sinasabi ko mapanik? Bakit mo gagamitin yung SWAT sa pag-disperse ng mga demonstrators? You don't use the SWAT.
Okay.
The SWAT were trained to shoot. At any sign of threat, they will shoot. No? Dapat ang ginamit doon yung crowd dispersal group. Diba? So they really panicked because they thought that Duterte would come. No? On that morning.
And medyo may advantage na naman doon sa
ano. Of course. Siyempre, abot mo na yun.
Okay.
Alam mo naman basahin yung utak ng politika. Ang hindi ko lang maintindihan, yung kaibigan ni Erin, iwan ko, hindi nila naagapan yun. Alam mo kung pinuntahan ni Marojas yun, maano ba naman pinuntahan nyo at pinigyan sa mga kaibigan, ako si Marojas, representante ako ng ating presidente, itong bigas. Kaya sabi ko, pre, bilis-bilisan mo, baka maunahan tayo.
Kaya sinasabi nila na politically motivated.
Politically motivated or whatever, the rise arrived even after the elections.
Na ikaw talaga ang may pakana.
No, si Rudy Duterte.
Hindi ikaw nagsabi kay Rudy.
Hindi, ako may sabi kay Rudy. I just referred to him a problem.
Di ikaw nga instigador?
No, kung instigator in the context of starting the whole demonstration, no.
Okay, okay.
Kung merong instigator dyan, si Pinoy kasi pinabayaan ni mga magsasaka.
so ikaw lang.
Natatawa sa Erin.
So ikaw lang ang kumbaga nagkalabit na ibigay yung bigas.
Oh, yes. So to make things clear, number one, I have never been linked to the left. I have never been linked to the left.
But you have that concept of making use of that particular incident for political advantage. Before you answer that, we'll pause for another break. Ito ang programang Bawal ang Pikon. Get it straight with Daniel Rason. Kasama pa rin po natin former Governor Emmanuel Manny Piñol, incoming Department of Agriculture Secretary ng Duterte administration. Well, so I was saying, itong lahat na ito, lumalabas ngayon kasi yung mga istorya na yan, yung instigador ka, pumasok ngayon yung pagpasok ng politically motivated yan. So, at the back of your mind, nung sabihin mo yon, nasa isip mo rin, kasi nasa politika, nasa isip mo rin na, pagkakataon natin to, take advantage natin para, is there something like that?
No, more than that, no. Siguro yun, bali yung mga friends benefits na siguro yun, no. But more
so
than
it can
that,
be considered politically motivated.
No, but the motivation was really to help the farmers. If that's political, so be it, no. Ganun naman ang what's the purpose of politics in the first place? It's really helping people, no. I mean, through the years as a local government leader, I've looked at governance from a very simplistic point of view. Para sa akin, ano bang governance? Identify the problems of your people, find the solutions, and implement the solution. Nakita ko yung problema. Hindi nakakain yung mga farmers. So, anong ginawa ko? Since ayaw magbigay ng probinsya, di nilapit ko sa kaibigan ko. Did we benefit politically? Maybe yes. But the intention was to help the farmers. You know, everything that we do can be politically motivated. Right now. No? Ngayon pa lang umiikot ako. Sa Facebook page ko, may mga nagpo-post na, pwede ka ng pang-senador. Sabi ko, huwag niyong kuluhin ang buhay ko. Kasi the moment you put politics in what I do, actually, it ruins everything. It destroys the noble intention or whatever intention.
But that's inevitable. Dahil alam mo
no, I have no plans of running for a political position. Para sa akin, pagkatalo ko nung 2010 at 2013, I took that as a signal from God that maybe He is planning something for me.
No, but why did you take the position of being the Department of Agriculture Secretary?
I am a farmer. I have long complained about this. Matagal na ako nagrereklamo. Matagal nang pinapabayaan ng agrikultura. But I do not claim to be, as bright as other people are. In fact, in my meeting with the deans of UPLB, kasama si Ciel Habito, sinabi ko sa kanila, sabi ko, I don't have lofty academic credentials like you do. I don't have a doctorate degree, may hanggang masters lang ako. I'm not as bright as you are. Barangay high school product lang ako. Valedictorian, ilan na kami, 30 lang yata kami. No? wala yun. But look, sabi ko, I carry the dreams and aspirations of the farmer. I understand what poverty is. Because when I was in college, my father was a teacher, my mother was a teacher. 11 kami mga kapatid, puro lalaki. Halos hindi kami makabili ng pantalon. Kailangan ko magtrabaho sa isang plantation every summer, magbuhukay ng butas para taniman ng rubber, para kumita, para may pambili ng damit sa opening ng klase. Marunong ako mag-araro, marunong ako magtanim ng palay. Marunong akong gumiik ng palay na gamit ang pako. Marunong ako mag-budding, marunong ako mag-topping. I know how to breed chicken. I know how to breed goats. I'm a farmer. I've been a farmer all my life. Even when I was in Manila, I always dreamed of coming home to the province and be a farmer once again.
What do you intend to do with the Coco Levy funds?
It's a policy issue actually, Daniel. I would like to leave that to the president. Presidente siguro but in fact, he has already made pronouncements about it. No? Give it to the farmers. Yun ang pronouncement niya. As to the details of the implementation, I will leave that to the president. Because
so anong pwedeng i-expect na malaking change within the first 100 days ng panunungkulan?
Unang-una po, meron tayong immediate intervention. Okay? Lugmok ang agrikultura. And that's the reason why I have recommended to Secretary Dominguez. Kasi kasama ako doon sa economic cluster. Magpipresent ako ng proposal ko sa economic cluster. And I will propose a 30 billion fund under a program which I call AREA, no? Agricultural Rehabilitation and Enhancement Assistance. No? Para makarecover kaagad yung agriculture natin. Alam mo ka, Daniel, not many people realize this. But the extent of the damage to agriculture of El Nino is comparable to the devastation of Yolanda minus the bodies. Okay? Ganon. Kasi tingnan mo, Yolanda, hindi naman naging negative yung performance ng agriculture because of Yolanda. Indeed, thousands died, pero yung economic impact niya hindi ganong kalaki because hindi nag-negative yung agriculture.
Tsaka isang section lang naman ng...
But this El Nino, negative 4.4 ang performance ng agri-sector. So that's how bad it is, no? So immediate, right away, no? Yung intervention kagad, assistance sa mga fisher folk, mga mangingisda, kasi apektado sila sa El Nino. Yung pag-init ng tubig, no? Yung mga magsasaka natin dapat magkaroon ng mga binhi, abono, at mga farm inputs. Yung ating mga mangingisda dapat magkaroon ng livelihood kaagad. And I'm proposing that yung ating mga mangingisda, halimbawa ngayon, para makarecover kagad, gamitin na muna sa pagtatanim ng mga mangroves para may sweldo lang sila. And then, kung kailangan lang ng mga bangka at mga na assistance galing sa gobyerno, we will do it.
Yung loan na sinasabi ninyong ibibigay sa mga paano ninyo, saan nyo padadaanin?
Meron akong experience nung araw kasi when I was governor of North Cotabato. It was a way of helping, actually it was not related with agriculture, but it was related, it's actually, I'm relating this in the context of how do we lend to people without interest. When I was governor of North Cotabato, ang poverty incidence ng probinsya ko was 52.6%. Napakataas. We were one of the 10 poorest provinces in the country. Problema, walang trabaho yung tao. So, isa sa mga programa ko yung tinatawag kong JEEP, no? Kasi sip-sip kay Arap Panahon na yan, si Arap ang presidente, di ba?
Tsaka hindi, masyado kang popular doon sa paggagawa ng mnemonics yung mga pagkukoy ng mga acronyms, di ba?
Writer. So, JEEP was Jobs for Economic Enhancement Program. Okay. Maraming mga aplikante for jobs abroad, no? Engineers and so on and so forth, na walang pambayad sa placement fee kaya hindi makapagtrabaho. So, ang ginawa ko, kinausap ko yung pinsan ko, si former Undersecretary Jun Sodosta ng Department of Labor. Sabi ko, tulungan mo nga ako. Gawa tayo ng jobs fair. We did the jobs fair. We invited legitimate placement agencies from Manila to go to my province and conducted pumunta libong-libo. Anyway, pagkatapos ng jobs fair, sabi ko, what would happen next? Wala ding placement fee. I asked the Sangguniang Panlalawigan, can we allocate 25 million pesos? A revolving fund na pwedeng utangin ng mga job seekers na meron ng work contract. I-attach yung work contract sa voucher. And makakautang sila up to 80,000 pesos. So, hindi na sila mangungutang ngayon doon sa 5-6. Okay? Walang interest. Ang ginawa namin, kinausap namin yung land bank, party to the agreement. Open kayo ng checking account sa land bank, pirma kayo ng cheque, okay?
Parang salary deduction na.
Parang ganun. Yung cheque ninyo, ihulog namin 3 months after you have arrived in your work destination. Okay? Walang interest. But the moment na pumalso ka sa payment period, may interest na. You know the repayment? It was 96% ang repayment.
Pero paano mag-a-apply sa magsasaka yan?
Okay. The same scheme. The same scheme. Hindi na yung cheque siguro. It's just a matter of trust. No? If we can do that to the foreign workers, without COA questioning us, then we can also do that to the Filipino farmer without the COA questioning us. Kasi ang takot lang naman ng ibang mga LGU chief executives actually is, baka hindi tayo payagan ng COA. You know, COA was never established to restrict government agencies from helping the people. The COA is there just to, make sure that government money is not wasted, it doesn't go to your pocket. So I would assume that COA will never restrict you for as long as the process is right and the intention is noble.
Mr. Secretary, one of the fears ng mga health buff ngayon, kasi I've been reading a lot of research about GMOs, yung mga genetically modified organisms. Ngayon, marami kahit yung mais natin, di ba? Kaya kung ano-ano yung palay natin, yung mga malalaki para makapag-produce ng mas marami. Ano ang pananaw ho ninyo dyan sa mga GMO na nai-introduce na sa atin?
I have to be very honest, Daniel. I have not really looked into this. Okay. GMO, its implication to health and so on and so forth. All that I hear actually are just complaints from Greenpeace and so on and so forth. I really have to browse up on this issue para malaman ko talaga implikasyon. But let's shift to, kasi ang health food
Yes,
okay?
yes.
Now, alam mo, merong dalawang trend ngayon sa agriculture. Food production, organic and the traditional farming method. You know, the most difficult thing to do is to change the mindset of people. Not only farmers, but change the mindset of people. You cannot possibly tell the farmer, hey, tigil mo na yung pag-aabono mo. Dito tayo. Magkakaroon tayong problema dyan. Kaya ang aking attitude dyan is this. Down the road of food production, let's travel 2 lanes. Organic and the traditional method. I will not force this sector to adopt the organic method. Let the market dictate the way agriculture should be done. What am I saying? Nung araw, yung aming banana industry, Cavendish, grabe ang chemicals doon. Nag-spray ng chemicals, may mga cybermectin. But there was a time when the Japan market, which is a very lucrative market for bananas, demanded that there should be less chemicals in the bananas. So the production of bananas actually shifted towards a more organic production. So from my perspective, I'm an organic farmer. Okay? I have bred an organic chicken that I raise, tawag ko Manok Pinoy. And I bred it, no? Ang aking attitude is, let the market dictate how agriculture should go.
Pero ang problema kasi dito parang is a matter of education.
For as long as, let me qualify that, for as long as the health standards are followed.
Yeah, kagaya nga nun, hindi naman lahat nakakapagbasa ng mga research with regard to GMOs. At ang nangyayari ngayon dito dun sa mga pananim natin or what, pagka na-introduce yung genetically modified na yan, ang nangyayari, mas mabilis ang production nila, mas madaling lumaki, etc., etc., mas parang, mas pleasing, medyo mas masarap, pero meron na nga silang mga implications na sinasabi with regard to health. So, yung papasok ngayon dito yung pag-educate sa mga tao, not only yung kasi mga farmers, hindi naman din sila ganun ka well-versed pagdating dyan. Yung mga masyadong keen pagdating sa kalusugan, sila yung medyo nagbabasa ng thoroughly. Papasok ngayon dito yung yung information dissemination and yung kagaya ng school on air ninyo. Paano nyo iniisip yan i-implement? Kasi pagka halimbawa, school on air, matagal na ako nag-i-introduce ng ganyan Problem is yung engagement with the viewers, yung assurance na the people concerned will be able to see, watch, and learn all of these things that you will introduce.
Totoo po yan. Alam mo, nung bata ako na announcer, I'm a lot older than you are. No?
You don't look like one.
Kami ni Herman Pangulan ang matanda. Anyway, nung bata akong announcer, I still remember, every morning, merong programa yung agriculture.
Yes,
School on air.
Yes.
Nung araw, wala pang text, telegrama pa. Saka airmail. Susulat yung farmer, ano po ang gagawin ko sa baboy ko at nagtatay.
Mga P.O. Box.
Pagsagot ng announcer, patay na yung baboy. Kasi RCPI sa kapitian, di ba nung araw? Di ba? Di ba? Ngayon, may text na. Interactive na ngayon ang communications. Interactive na, pwedeng sagutin kaagad ng announcer. Kaya sabi ko, alam nyo, ang pinaka-problema natin actually sa agriculture, very basic, is technology. How do we disseminate technology? How do we introduce technology? Information. I'm an information guy. No? I graduated Development Communication sa USM, no? University of Southern Mindanao. You understand the communications. In fact, ito yung isa sa mga pinaka-importante nating programa na uumpisan kagad natin. In fact, I'm already starting it with DZRH. I'm sorry, I have to mention...
no problem.
But we're already starting it. May daily biyaheng bukid report ako. At binabanggit ko kung saan ako napunta, anong nangyari, and so on and so forth. No? So I believe in communications. I believe in information dissemination. That's why, as Secretary of Agriculture, wag lang bumagsak yung plano sa nasakyan ko, July 1, no? Nakunhod. Pag matuloy, no? We will start a daily radio program. Maybe we will even ask a favor from you, no? Tulungan kami.
Oh, we're open, we're open.
Ilalabas natin sa lahat ng network at pati community stations. Marami kasing maliliit na FM stations sa baba.
Yes,
na
that's
talagang
true.
pinapakinggan ng tao.
That's true.
Na talagang may technician dyan sa lahat ng aspetong itatanong ng farmer. Text lang. And ang isa pa naming intention dyan is yung text na yun ng farmer, pag i-identify niya sarili niya, maglalagay kami ng database. Okay? Sinong farmer ito? Saan galing yung tawag niya? After this program, actually, Daniel, I'm supposed to meet the brother of my fellow editor sa Tempo nung araw, si Ray Bangkod. Yung brother niya is an information technology expert. Hihingi ako ng tulong sa kanya kung paano kami gagawa ng website na interactive, na pag nag-type yung farmer, magre-register. Pag tumawag sa station, magre-register. So that at the end of the term of the president, we would like to have a listing of real farmers. Kasi maraming nagka-farmeran dyan eh. Di ba? Maraming nagkukunwari na they represent the farmers but in fact they don't even know the difference between a kambing and a tupa. No? Nito naman, ang daming peke na magsasaka eh. You know.
Yung manok, peking duck.
Peking duck. Oh.
Pero improve nyo muna internet.
Kaya nga, yun nga sa programa ni Rudy. But anyway, ang intention talaga ni Presidente Duterte is this. He wants to see the day, he would like to see the day na yung magsasaka, kapag tinanong mo, anong trabaho mo, ay hindi titingin sa lupa at sabing, magsasaka ko. Gusto niya mangyari pagdating ng panahon, pagtapos ng term niya, ang magsasaka, pag tinanong mo, naka-expand yung dibdib at sabing, magsasaka ko. Now really, we're serious about this. We would like card-bearing farmers, which would indicate ano ka, coconut, rice, ano ka, corn, and then we would like to implement a pension fund for the Filipino farmer. Kasi kawawa yung farmer talaga yan. Government worker ka, may GSIS. Private worker ka, may SSS. Farmer ka, tiis-tiis. No? Pagdating ng panahon na umandar na yung rayuma mo, wala na, upo ka na lang. Hindi mo na maiangat yung araro, wala na. Bakit? Hindi ba profession din yan? So why don't we professionalize farming? So ito yung intention. One, card-bearing farmers. So that any assistance given by government, any support given by government, will really go to the real farmer. Okay? Number two, yung pension fund. Dapat pag-retire niya sa farming, dapat may tanggap pa. Maski 2,000 man lang isang buwan. Pambili ng gamot sa rayuma, di ba? Oh. And of course, life insurance. Bakit hindi natin bigyan ng life insurance yung farmer? Ito po yung mga pananaw natin pagdating sa agrikultura. And we really would like to emphasize that farming is a noble profession. This is the only profession na ang intensyon ay pakainin ng tao. Sige nga. Sabihin nyo nga sa akin, accountant, pinapakain niyo bang tao? No. I'm not trying to look down on other professions. Cameraman, bakit pinapakain niya ba yung tao? Hindi naman lang.
Pero kailangan ngayon i-improve din ang school for agriculture if that is the case.
Of course.
Dahil para mas maging attractive yung farming profession dito sa ating bansa na ngayon parang
alam mo, ganito ka backward area ng ating agriculture. Ay yung ating irrigation, water distribution system natin. Alam ba ninyo na yung ating irrigation system, kinopya pa natin sa mga Faroe yan, mga Ehipto, nung unang panahon, yung open canal. Anong problema ng open canal? Unang-una, seepage. Kapag lupa yan, yung yung tagas. Pangalawa, evaporation. Pangatlo, nakawan ng tubig sa gabi. No? Pang-apat, papaliguan ng kalabaw. No? Di siya na yung kanal. The modern water distribution system right now, naka-pipe na. Sa Israel, naka-pipe. So effective, walang seepage, walang leakage, walang nakawan ng tubig, hindi mo pwede paliguan ng kalabaw. No? At saka talagang controlled mo yung tubig. So we would like to set up models of this system in several parts of the country because we really have to modernize our irrigation system. Look, etong problema natin. We are so poor with our water management na hindi natin na-realize tayo lang yung bansa sa buong mundo siguro na may 6 na buwan ng ulan, binabagyo, binabaha. Pero 3 buwan na init, umiiyak na yung farmer, wala ng tubig. Why is that? We have not managed our water resources. Yung ating tubig na excess, tumatakbo lang sa dagat, hindi natin pinipigilan, wala tayong catchment basins. Yung ating irrigation system, talagang pinapabayaan na natin. In America, they have big water catchment basins. At talagang nakapundo. Yung desierto, for example, ng Coachella in Southern California, it's a desert. But they plant manga, they plant vegetables. Meron pang isang Vietnamese doon, ang kanyang trabaho, nagtatanim ng kangkong sa greenhouse. You know how much he's earning? $10 million a year. Kangkong. Walang yung buhay ito, sabi ko. Kangkong sa amin, pinapakain sa baboy. No? But that's how scientific and modern their agriculture is.
But having said all of these things, do you think 6 years would be enough para ma-implement ninyo lahat ng nasa isip ninyo?
You know, I even have an idea, a wild idea. I will ask our tissue culture technicians in Makilala, in Kidapawan, to clone me. No. To clone the president. No, I mean, I know that 6 years is not enough. But if we plan based on our political terms, then agriculture in this country has nowhere to go. Ito ang pinaka-problema natin. Masyadong politicized yung ating agriculture in the country. We always think in the context of how long would I be in office? How long would the term of the president be? So that's why we come up with agriculture programs that are very short on gestation. Na gusto natin mangyari pagtapos ng term ng presidente, namumunga na yung term natin. Hindi naman ganun eh. Hindi naman ganun. Like, so, for example, look at this. Bakit hindi natin tignan yung agroforestry as a way of ensuring that we will have sustainable agriculture? Kalbo na yung ating bulubundukin. Pero walang magandang programa para i-reforest yung bundok. Kasi ganong thinking nga eh. Tatanim ka ng kahoy, 8 taon yan, tapos na yung presidente. Hindi tayo mapupuri ng presidente. No? Yung ganong tipo palagi ng pananaw.
But the reality is, ito yung klase ng politika na meron tayo. Okay, you have that good intention, but you will only be as good as 6 years.
No. If we can copy what the US did with their agriculture, where they have what they call the US Farm Act. It's a law, actually, that sets the direction of agriculture in America for the next 10 years. May funding, hindi pwede galawin maski sinong presidente. If you want to add, you add, but you can't touch it anymore. Actually, meron din tayong ganyang batas sa Pilipinas, kanya lang hindi natin na-implement. So, what we really need to do is really review what we're doing with agriculture. Alam mo, Daniel, napakaraming pera sa gobyerno. Napakaraming pera. In fact, 2017, I think the budget of DA is over 70 billion pesos. Problema natin dyan, medyo nalihis na yung ating mga ibang programa. Away from the basic mandate of the Department of Agriculture. Ano bang basic mandate ng Department of Agriculture? Produce food. Produce food. Ganon ang basic. Kaya lang, may mga programa na tayo sa pagpapagawa ng bahay ng mga bulate, yung African night crawler para tumain ng abono. No? May yero, may atip na na sin at saka yero, mga 300,000 para sa bulate, para tumae. Yung bulate ko, nagbe-vermiculture na ako. Dahon lang ng niyog na lagay ko, tumatay naman eh.
Tatay naman.
Tatay yan.
Hindi pa magastos.
Hindi ba? Walang yung buhay, sabi ko.
Nagkausap na ba kayo ng Secretary Alcala?
Bukas.
So, bukas mag-uusap kayo ng tungkol
hindi ko lang sabihin sa kanya yung sinasabi ko rito ngayon.
But Ano?
Hindi, magkaibigan kami actually. Magkaiba lang kami pananaw siguro.
Pero ano yung gusto mong alamin mula sa kanya? At ano yung gusto mong ma-extract na information from him?
Whatever we say of Secretary Alcala and the Department of Agriculture now, I would assume that they have done good things also. I would like to continue on the good things that they have achieved and maybe learn from lessons that they learned or from their experiences, learn from lessons based on their failures and come up with a more improved agriculture direction. But basically, what I'm saying is, I would like, on the instructions of President Duterte, I would like to bring back Department of Agriculture to the basic and fundamental mission of the agency, produce food. But this time around, we will be coming up with a new paradigm sa food production. It will be family-based because we will not only produce food, we will also uplift the Filipino farming family and the fisher folk from poverty. So family-based, unahin natin. Tingnan natin. Ito bang ating mga magsasaka kumakain din ba? Yung bang ating mangingisda kumakain din ba? Nakakapag-aral ba ng mga anak na? You know, on April 21, during the launching of this book, President Duterte delivered a message that still rings in my ear until today. Sabi niya, my governance will be simple. I will just ask the Filipino people, nakakain na ba kayo? Nakapagpa-hospital ba kayo? Nakapag-aral bang anak nyo? Wala na ba kayong takot? Ako doon ako sa number 1. Nakakain na ba kayo? Doon ako magpo-focus. So sabi niya, yun, ganun kasimple ang kanyang governance. Ganun din ang itatanong ko sa mga tao kapag ginawa ko na yung trabaho ko. You produce food, pero kayo ba nakakain na rin? Nakapag-aral ba yung mga anak nyo? So, Kadaniel, ito lang yung siguro simpleng pananaw natin sa governance ni Rudy Duterte. This guy, sabi nga niya, is not bright. He had 75. No? Nangungupya din siya. I don't feel embarrassed. I mean, halimbawa, may programa maganda si Prosi, ba't hindi ko kopyahin?
So, ano ang pinaka masasabi mong malaking pagkakamali ng dating Agriculture Secretary na hindi mo gagayahin?
Unang-una yung pag-project na magkakaroon ng self-sufficiency sa bigas without really looking into the basic infrastructure, technology, and financing. Ito yung tingin ko yung naging failure. But I don't blame him for it. You mean, lahat naman tayo nagkakamali.
So ano naman ang pinakamagandang sa palagay mo yung nagawa ng dating Agriculture Secretary na pwede mong ipagpatuloy?
Yung focus nila sa organic farming.
Okay.
Yung focus nila sa organic farming. We're going towards an age where people are very conscious about health. Okay? Consciousness of health. And I like his initiative sa organic farming. I will build on that. I will continue that, strengthen it. In fact, plano ko nga maghanap ng mga tao na talagang natural yung kanilang organic farming. You know, may isang bata na taga Tawi-Tawi, Badyaw. Alam mo yung Badyaw, naghihingi ng limos. Gumraduate na magna cum laude din sa MSU Marawi. Sa MSU Tawi-Tawi. Inoffer ko ng trabaho. Inoffer ko ng trabaho. Kinuha ko. At mukhang papayag. May isang bata na kasama ko ngayon, staff ko na. Bilaan. Batang babae, CPA. Kinuha ko.
Ba't parang mukhang puro batang babae ang kinukuha mo?
Hindi, lalaki yung isa kanila.
Lalaki ba isa? Akala ko puro babae. But what would be the most controversial question that you would ask the former Agriculture Secretary and that you think is a necessary information that you need to know?
Wala pa.
Alam mo, dyan lang pala kita mapapatahimik.
Alam mo, totoo lang ka, Daniel. As a former government official, I have made it a point never to embarrass people in public. Never to embarrass them with embarrassing questions. Never to show my anger at them in front of other people.
No, but what I am saying, Secretary, is this. There are crucial informations that you really need to know. And you really need to find out certain things that could probably be given by the former Secretary of Agriculture? Or maybe you can get some leads for you to be able to manage the department well?
Well, unang-una, tatanungin ko kung paano na inallocate yung bilyong-bilyong pera para sa BUB. Yung bottom-up budgeting. No? Sapagkat alam ko, ito yung nagamit sa politika in the last elections. Ito yung nagamit. No? Gusto ko lang malaman. But let me clarify. I am not into conducting investigations. That's not my job. My job is to produce food. If there were anomalies during the times when he was the Secretary of Agriculture, I would leave that to the proper body to investigate. But I am not going to waste my time, unearthing documents or looking into their past transactions. I'm going to waste a lot of time. Right now, the Filipino people are hungry. We lack food. We are importing rice. We are importing almost everything. I'm not going to waste my time investigating what they did in the past. I leave that to, just like what the President said, I leave that to the Ombudsman and the Commission on Audit.
But you believe that they have wasted money?
I do. I do believe that they have wasted money. Yung mga proyektong, alam mo, mga dryer na pinamimigay, ang natutuyo, dugo mo, hindi yung palay. Hindi umaandar eh.
Okay.
Di ba?
So, ano ang pwede mo ngayong iwan sa ating mga kababayang magsasaka na pwede nilang masabi talaga, change is coming?
I will first bring back, as I've said, the Department of Agriculture to its basic mandate. Production of food. You know, 2 days ago, I had a forum with the different sectors. Ang isang kausap ko doon yung Philippine Carabao Center, where they are promoting the Bulgarian buffalo para milking daw. No? Alam mo ba kung magkano isang Bulgarian buffalo, Erin? 311,000 pesos. Isang buffalo. Now, ang tanong ko sa kanila, are you really producing milk? No? Sapagkat sabi ko, yung buffalo na yung pagkamahal-mahal na yan, kung hindi nagpo-produce yung milk, I would rather import carabaos from China as draft animals rather than milking carabaos. Bakit ko sasayangin ang pera ng gobyerno dyan? Mini-maintain natin yan, pinapakain natin yan, wala namang gatas. Tapos hindi mo rin pwedeng ipakasta yung toro sa native na kalabaw. Masyado maselan, ayaw nung pangit na kalabaw. Hindi nga.
may paghuhugutan naman pa.
Kailangan artificial insemination. No?
Well, that's what they do naman.
So precisely, what I'm saying is this. No? Ang daming programa ng gobyerno na wala namang kabuluhan at walang naitutulong sa ating mga magsasaka at sa Pilipino. Bulgarian buffalo, kapag hindi ka nagkatas, patay kang bata ka. Bahala ka sa buhay mo. Iiwanan kita, lilipat ako doon sa production, breeding ka ng kalabaw, na pwede pang gamitin ng mga magsasaka because whatever we do, no, hindi naman lahat ng area sa Pilipinas pwede natin may mechanize. Sa mga bulubunduking pork, hindi natin kailangan hindi na tayo pwede mag-mechanize. Kalabaw talaga, no? So we go back to that basic, farming practice of using the draft animals. So instead of breeding Bulgarian buffaloes, na ang intention mo ay maggatas, samantalang kakaunti naman gatas, mas marami pa yung gatas ng 2 kambing. Yung kambing actually makakaproduce ng 3 to 4 liters a day. Yung Bulgarian buffalo nila, ang highest nila is 7 liters a day. Now, why would I buy an animal for 311,000 pesos when I can buy a goat, 2 goats, for only 50,000 pesos? Sige nga.
Alright, before I let you go, what would be your unsolicited advice to the outgoing secretary?
Take a rest. Enjoy farming.
Thank you so much. Mr. Secretary, welcome to the new administration. The next Department of Agriculture Secretary, Manny Peñol. Dito lang po sa programang Bawal ang Pikon. Get it straight with Daniel Razon.